Again, this was not a decision that we made. We decided to get out of that kill zone, and we dealt with the machine gun, the anti-aircraft gun, and we got away from those mortars. We did all of that. But again, it wasn't a conference that we had. When I replay this whole scene in my mind, from the beginning to the end, it seems like it was hours long. It was probably a handful of minutes. Things tend to slow down in combat. It wasn't that long, it seems long, but I'll tell you this, we had a few seconds to make a decision to move from where we were to where we needed to be, and we did it not because I'm smart, but because that's what we needed to do, and when we did it, everyone came along with us. A lot of folks should have died right there on top of the bridge, and no one did. Because when someone decides to march, everyone else will follow. This is the final lesson, one that I'm thankful to look back on again and again. It's one that encourages me. Here's the lesson. Victory in life, it comes to the persistent, not the perfect. Victory in life comes to the persistent, not the perfect. We get so caught up in feeling bad about the decisions we made that weren't good ones or that were misinformed or the people that we've hurt along the way. We get so caught up in all of that we get stuck. And that's when we decide it's easier to die than to march. Listen to me. Victory doesn't come to the perfect. It comes to the persistent. To the one who is willing to say, in spite of my past and my present circumstances, I will put one foot in front of the other and get to the place where I really need to be so that I can fight this battle on my terms. That's it. I believe so often that the simple act of pushing forward is a near superpower because so few people are willing to do it when it matters most. I believe that resiliency happens when we are able to bounce back to something that is a predetermined target. That thing off in the distance that carries us forward when we've fallen down. We know that all of us will fall down. That's going to happen. That's not going to change. Regardless of our circumstance, there will be difficulties that come into our lives. But you're a resilient person when you're able to recalibrate or realign back to the truth. You fall down and you're able to get back up. That's what it is to be resilient. It's an event like this one that allows us to come to a place together corporately where we can understand there are a lot of resources, but I want you to hear this today. As great as all of these resources are, the resource that we need to reach out to in those moments of desperation is the resource that never changes, the God that says, I'm with you, I won't leave you, and I'm going to hang on to you. The fact that we approach this as a veteran or a service member to others, veterans and service members, is extremely important. In fact, we've had a study done on our program and the effectiveness of that. It's very important, obviously. 70% of those who have come through our program have found some healing in that, and it's a big conversation, of course. Almost 40% would say they'd no longer be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress after a program like ours. Why is that? Because we have folks who have experienced many of the same things they have and are talking to them face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, peer-to-peer, saying, I know where you've been, I've been there as well, and I don't have it all figured out, but I want to take you forward. And there's tremendous power in that.
When I was sitting in an office with guys that I was working with at the church, I heard about a couple of the kids that I had served with that were killed, and I was overwhelmed, just so helpless, and I shared that with the guys that I was working with at the time, civilians, and they're like, oh, well, that's terrible. Anyhow, so the next thing on the agenda is, and just moved past it, no understanding, and they couldn't understand, but there was a feeling of guilt for sure in my heart there. But I think you can handle that one of two ways. You can either feel guilty about it, you can let that push you down a road you shouldn't end up on. You can spend the rest of your life thinking about why did it hit the guy standing next to me instead of me, the randomness of combat and war. Or you can do what we do at a Memorial Day weekend and say, the reason Memorial Day is important is because instead of feeling bad about what didn't happen to me, I can celebrate the fact that there are young people who are willing to pay the ultimate price, who are willing to sacrifice their lives, who are willing to stand in the gap when no one else will, et cetera, et cetera. And I can be proud of that, and I can celebrate that, and I can rejoice in that. And survivor's guilt, I think, is a very real thing. Psychologically, I don't understand all of it, but that conversation is one that happens often. And I think getting past that is you have to understand the person who died doesn't want you to feel bad about that for the rest of their life. What they would say if they were standing here today is start living your life, do something important, make something happen. And so, yeah, it's real, but you can move past it if you're willing to do that.
If you'll make a decision to share your story, you will fulfill your God-given purpose. You will experience His presence, and you will be used to provide eternal hope to a hopeless world. Are you thankful for what God has done in your life? Then tell it to the ones that He puts in your path.
It's not about that, and I'm thankful for people that say thank you, but really it's about remembering that what makes America great is that there are people in our country willing to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves, willing to defend freedom abroad. What's the abortion debate about? Why does it matter in America? Because Americans have always stood up for those who can't stand up for themselves, stood up for those who can't defend themselves, and given a voice to others who don't have a voice on their own. So Memorial Day is a day I think that should be somber in the sense of remembering. It should be something that brings gratefulness and thankfulness to our hearts. And then something that we should have barbecues and get-togethers and enjoy ourselves, because that is exactly what those people, those young men and women, died to preserve, is the freedom to do those things.